Okay, welcome to another episode of Miracle Mindset for Men. I am your host, Heyru Dre, aka Handsome Heyru, aka Dre. Tonight I have a very special guest. Actually, this is not even a special guest. This is more like a very dear good friend of mine. I want to introduce y'all to New Diamonds. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, doing fine, well, feeling super energetically charged and super excited to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I was talking to someone a few months ago about having women on the show because at first I was like, this is really for the men. I just want the perspective of men because this is who I'm trying to help. But then I thought about it. I say, you know what? There's really nothing wrong with getting a woman's feel and touch on it because even though she may or may not understand, she can still give some perspective that could still help us at the same time. And I don't just pick any woman to be on here. I pick women who have an unbiased way of looking at stuff, who I feel can really help and they can really understand and empathize and sympathize with what we as black men in America are going through. And I say, I want to change it up. I don't want my channel to be one dimensional. So I was like, you know what? Let me hit up my fam, New Diamonds. I see some of the stuff she be talking about. We had a nice little conversation. We talk like we family. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like we had a good conversation, and I learned so much from you. And you like really like one of the few people that I could really talk to about anything. Because as a man and as a Cancer, we don't open up like that.
facts.
So, just to have that sense and feeling of comfortability with you is really I'm really grateful for it and I really appreciate you for that.
Oh,
So
thank you so much, Dre. I be feeling the same, I feel like it's supposed to be this sense of trust, this sense of security, right? For anyone, masculine, feminine. If that party doesn't feel that sense of security within this person they're talking to, whether it's family, friends, their partner, is gonna be this little bit of friction, this little bit of dis-ease or disconnection. And like you said, once we kind of chopped it up a bit and really started to connect, it was just this instant, like you said, bond, this, soul tribe uniting. And I value that as well, just having a masculine perspective. Because I'm in my, we all be in our own world, but like you said, it's always good to have a balanced perspective, someone who can be honest with you and also be unbiased as to uplifting you and giving you their insight and, just being there for you when necessary. So I value that, and I thank you so much for saying that because it is really hard out here. These streets. It's hard out here in these streets, Dre. Okay, so you can't really connect with people on any level. You know what I mean? So to have that with you and have that with other people in the Soul Tribe, I value that the most. So thank you so much.
no problem. I like to give flowers early on. I just kind of feel like sometimes people need to hear that. If you're not hearing it enough, you won't hear it from me. And it's coming from an authentic place. And it's funny you mentioned, the connection between men and women. I named this episode The Secret Sacred Love Between Men and Women. It was supposed to be masculine men and feminine women, but StreamYard only allows you to type so much. So I had to
Mm.
shorten it up. But I had my friend Kashaya on here last week and we were talking about having a balance between masculine men and feminine women, and we were trying to figure out how and what happened. And we didn't go into detail about what's the sacred part about having the masculine man and the feminine woman. So from your perspective, like, why do you think that the sacred love between the men and women has been so divided?
Oh man, it's so many layers. What a great question. I feel like for one, it's a lot of pressure that we have to obtain in this society right now, right? So we don't really, as soon as we wake up, we don't really have time to, deep dive within ourselves. We have to, go to work, do certain things and just kind of start our day. Let alone get in tune with someone else, right? Whether you have a partner or not, we're kind of already programmed to jump upon different things and just get our day started and start the program, start the cycle. So I feel like that already puts our mind in this chaotic state. For most people, it puts them in this sense of chaos, right? This sense of urgency, this sense of I have to do this. Or if you already have certain things that are on your plate, you kind of have to address those things before you can address yourself. So this is this sense of wanting to upkeep something that is beyond yourself, outside of yourself. And I feel like that breaks that connection with yourself, because in order to kind of get in tune with someone else, you have to be in tune with yourself, right? So you kind of have to find this balance within yourself first. And if you aren't in tune with what's kind of throwing you off, that echoes out into your reality. So I feel like the system, it's not it's not really for divine unions. It's to break them up so they can feed off of that nature, so they can feed off of that energy, whether it's feminist energy, whether it's men seeing themselves as higher value than women, and then women wanting to be independent. It doesn't really support a family dynamic, right? Whether it's certain pronouns, right, that they want to have people address themselves by. And I'm not against anyone, I'm always for love, but we're talking about a family dynamic. We're talking about the masculine and feminine coming together. And if we are trying to rebuild that foundation, rebuild that structure, then we have to go down to the base. And in order for us to do that, we got to start at the top and work our way down, right? There's so many layers, right? It's us having to go to work and us providing and having to fend for ourselves. As we know, there's a lot of people that are single, right? It's not too many people that are in relationships. It's not the 70s no more, right? People aren't staying together. They're not trying to make it work. They like, no, I'm out here single. If he don't got this, that, and this, if she don't got this, that, and this, then it's not going to work, right? So I feel like people's values are more materialistic than they are internal. And that's kind of where some of these problems stem from, is because they aren't really focused on the foundation. How can we build a foundation? How can I build something with you? Versus if you ain't bringing what you bring to the table, Dre, like what you bringing to the, you know what I mean? We always gotta hear, well, what do you, if you know what I mean? So it's this sense of really looking for something outside when we should be looking for something inside. And when we really kind of pull back these layers as to what's stripping that, what's holding that, then we can kind of come together. So yeah, I feel like it's so much with that question. There's so many different layers to, as we're not really united. There's not really a lot of people getting married. I don't know too many people that are getting married. I don't know too many people, don't really promote love. There's not a lot of love songs. It's so much. It's so much. So that could be with the agriculture. That could be with, certain demographic of things, as far as like chemicals that are being sprayed, things that we're watching on TV, certain things that are portrayed in the media, certain people that we're surrounding ourselves with. If we done the shadow work, if we healed ourselves, so it's so much. It's so much. So I feel like it's a lot of different things, and we just kind of got to take it one step at a time. If you really want to deep dive with yourself, and if you really want to love yourself in order to find that partner or that balanced opposite that you're looking for.
Yeah, and not to mention the food that we put in our systems too, because that's a lot. Woo, man. And I believe that the separation comes from a missing identity. I
Yes.
don't think that people have their own identity. They're too busy focusing on what everybody else is doing, and they're trying to mimic, duplicate, copy everything that they hear and see. And I was thinking about this earlier too when I was making me something to eat, and I was like, cause I saw a post on Instagram that said that 81% of women want to be alone than to settle, something like that. And I love reading the comments because the comments is really where it be funny at.
Yes.
And I was like, but the 81% of y'all are listening to 19% of what everybody else is saying about not wanting or settling, and you talking about you deserve something. And my thing is, how do you deserve something if you didn't work for it? It's like you just wake up and say, hey, I deserve A, B, C, and D, but what have you done to get these things that you quote unquote deserve? And I just think that a lot with this social media stuff has really made people brain dead, become followers for sure. And there's no more, or I ain't gonna say no more, but there's less and less and less free thinkers. Nobody's getting in tune with their divine spirit. They're ignoring that and listening to an outside source instead of listening to themselves. They're disconnected all the way around. And it's sad
Yes.
to see when you witnessing it in real time. And not to even mention, every other podcast is about what women want, what men want, what they supposed to provide. Like, where's y'all solutions at? And like you were saying earlier,
Yes.
love. You need the love, right? Love is every you need love first. Love is supposed to keep you going. Love is an action, not a word. So I could
Yes.
tell you all day I love you, but my actions could be different. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that they don't understand that love has to come from themselves first. Like, you have to know who you are, and then you have to love that version of who you are. And if you don't, change it. Not saying it's
Yes.
easy, but it's simple. What would Dr. B say? It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yes.
So, do you think that the feminine energy is being suppressed more and more?
Um, yes and no. It is right now, from my perspective, it is a huge split. It's a huge timeline split that's going on. It's a huge reality split. And you have men and women, but we're gonna talk about the women. We have a lot of women who are caught up in the system, right? So they want to um portray themselves as this, super sexual. And there's nothing wrong with being in tune with your, divine feminine essence and wanting to be sexy. But we're in the age of where there's a lot of, dare I say it, prostitution going on, and they're glorifying that, right? Whether it's in the music, whether it's on the TV, whether it's the celebrities. What female celebrities do we really have that are promoting, you know, covering themselves up, right? And I'm not saying be a nun, but I'm saying where is a role model that my daughter can look up to, that I'm going to feel comfortable enough for her to even listen to, watch, right? I don't have that. So from my standpoint, it's like, okay, there's a huge split and there is a divide with the women, because there's a sense of this woman who is a very overly sexual sense of this feminine energy, because there's a lot of layers that she still has to break through within herself, right? Whether it's trauma, whether it's the sense of lack of attention or wanting attention, but where does that sense of that attention come from? Whether it's being an independent woman, right, due to, not having someone there to provide for you. There's a lot of different things that go into that perspective. That's on that side. But on the flip side, there, when women who are suppressed in their femininity and they see that, being sexual is a sense of a representation of their femininity, but really it's an exploitation of their femininity. I feel like on the flip side, there is a lot of divine feminine essence that is rising, right? We have a lot of women who are coming into health, health is wealth, and tapping into their knowledge, tapping into their wisdom. We do have, the Queen of Fools and the Sister Myras that are, there as a staple, but where it's not too many women in the spiritual, in the conscious department that are, taking that step forward. I mean, there's a few, but like I said, it's a few. We could name off 10, 20, 30, 50 males that are doing it and being, super masculine, providing and being leaders. But when it comes to the feminine, I can't really, keep up. And it's due to this, taking this easy way out. It's way more easier for a woman to tap into that sexual nature to get, what she wants, versus let me, tap into my higher chakras. I can tap into my lower chakras to get what I want, use that sexual energy to get what I want, versus me using my mind, using my heart, using my intelligence to figure out something else. And it's a lot of big boss women out there as well. I'm not going to put that down as well. But when we talk about feminine energy, that's a girl being in her soft girl era, right? That is being
Hmm.
that in that divine essence, that divine feminine energy. But what does that look like, right? And I feel like there's just a huge divide, a huge timeline split, a huge consciousness split when it comes to the suppression of divine feminine energy. But I truly feel like divine feminine energy is rising. It's more potent than ever. But some people are exploiting that energy because they don't know how to alchemize that energy in the right way. So they manipulate it for their best benefit, however they may look like. And that's not all women, but when it comes to the 85%, I feel like 85% of women who aren't really conscious, who aren't really, tapped in with their well-being and their health, they just on OnlyFans, they out, you know what I mean? They in the club, they sloppy, they, and there's nothing wrong with being free and tapping into that. But like I said, where's the role models for the future, right? Where's the role models for the future children and the future men? Because I feel like that's, a man is overly stimulated when he continues to see a naked woman, right? And it, in a sense, it desensitizes the man and it makes him, okay, well, this, for some men who aren't operating from that divine masculine energy, that's all they want, that's all they see. They just use women, right? And vice versa, the women just use the men. So you, I'm gonna just stop right there.
Yeah, we don't, like you said, there's not a lot of role models for the women. Like we don't have the Lauren Hills, you know what I'm saying? We don't have the can I say Salt and Pepper? I mean, they were kind of explicit, but they had class with it.
Yes,
Can you say TLC too?
yes.
Yeah,
It was
I guess you.
more covered. It wasn't my titty. You know what I mean? It wasn't my boobs out. It wasn't Meg Thee Stallion. It wasn't Cardi B. It wasn't Ice Spice. A young woman twerk bent over. I always see you bent over. Like, you know what I mean? I can't rock with that. I'm sorry.
And the crazy thing about that whole dynamic, that whole scenario, is the simple fact that majority of men, married men, are pushing this, and it just makes me think like, and I don't judge, and I try not to speculate. I just observe, and I often feel like who is the real problem when it comes to the connection between men and women? Is it the women because they are sexualizing themselves, or is the men because they're sexualizing the women? And I've been trying to figure it out for a long time, like who started what and why it was started. And it's kind of like one of those things, like it's a rabbit hole you got to go in because it would make me okay. I think okay. I have a theory. I have a theory, right? World War II, when all the men went off to the war, the women took over the jobs, right? Whatever, like the factory jobs, the plant jobs, all of those jobs, right? So they were learning how to fend for themselves because the men wasn't in the house. Not that they were bums, nothing. They was all fighting for their country, right? So then when the men come back, they see that the women are doing what they're doing. They may feel like they can't do it better, but they're still doing it. So now I want to say that's where the initial start was at. And then, you had the 19th Amendment, what gave women the right to vote and the speech and all of that stuff. And then it was a lady by Sarah something. I can't remember her name. She was the first white lady to push the white feminist movement to where no housewives. They didn't want to be housewives anymore. They wanted to work like the other men. And so I think that the corporations, they saw this as a money opportunity. If we can get more people to work, then they'll consume more. We know that women not like nice things, so let's give them work opportunities so they can buy more of our stuff and make us more money. And then fast forward to the music. Who was it? Uncle Luke? Was it Uncle Luke that started that? I want. It
Yeah,
was, he's the only person I could think of way back then that started.
mainstream.
Yeah, because women they dance, but it wasn't in a provocative way. It was an expression of how they felt, like how
Yes,
the music made them feel. Like if you can look back in the 50s and 40s, how they were dancing, like they had on long dresses.
yes,
They were still respected looking, and they still had a good time. And they were expressing themselves. And then
yes,
the dresses start getting smaller, the clothes start getting tighter. They start showing more stuff, and then I guess somebody was like, "Hey, you know what? Let's sexualize women and advertise that." So I,
yes.
I guess it's kind of like layers to that. And I'm not bashing on the women because I never have anything bad to say about women. Like to be clear about that, because I just kind of feel like women are who they are and they are the best at what they're supposed to be in the essence of being feminine, right? And I feel like women we need women so much, it's like an understatement. And I don't think that a lot of men understand that unless they but that's neither here or there. But
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
kind of feel like men complain about women like women complain about men, but what are you doing to trying to help this woman, or what are you doing to trying to help yourself to not think like that? And who are
Yeah,
you surrounding yourself by? Not everybody can be helped.
right.
And I think that it could be a problem that everybody can't be helped. And then a flip side to that, you do have a lot of losers and lames out there who don't get no play, and they feel like they got to pay for everything because they ain't got the sauce. Everybody can't have the sauce. It's okay. We've all been there. All my
Yes,
fellas out there, they know what it's like. You got to develop that. You either got it or you don't. But
yes.
um so as far like we got the women's side, so on the men's side, do you think that men want to be masculine all the time, or they just hate being masculine all the time? What do you think about that?
I think men love to be masculine. It's in men's nature to be masculine, just like it's in, woman's nature to be feminine. But at some point, there has to be a break for a man, for a masculine, right? That's like a machine running 20. It's like your phone running all day. At some point, it's gonna need a charge or it's gonna die, right? So I feel like as a man, you guys love, sports and action and being aggressive and a little bit of, boxing every now and then, a little bit of, sensual, sexual things as well. But at some point, it comes to a point where you guys get overstimulated as well. And you guys just kind of want to lay back. Like, what's wrong with a man just sitting back and getting a massage? Like, sitting back and taking a shower, getting his hands, his feet, getting catered to. I feel like that, and that is that feminine essence. Not saying that, it's a man being a woman. It's just a man willing to receive in order to balance out his masculine, right? Which is necessary for all men, right? As a man's working or providing all day. Yeah, when a man gets off, he wants to rest. That's only human nature. Anyone who's overworking themselves wants to rest. I feel like some women, they don't take into consideration or look into a man's perspective as they are doing a lot of things and they have a lot of things going on, and some women brush it off as, oh, he can handle it, he's a man. But a man has, they're human as well. They have, you guys have emotions as well. So we have to take into consideration everything that's going on. And I feel like that kind of goes back to that structured system as well. How are you raised? How were you programmed in your younger years? Were you told don't cry, real men don't cry, toughen up? you know what I mean, don't express your emotions, be in a certain environments, numb certain people. So I feel like this is where men have to, you know, put in the work for themselves as well, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable, as being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness. And I feel like that's been something that's been programmed in the men's mind, as to opening up or expressing themselves or just saying how they feel is a sense of weakness, you know, tapping into their divine feminine essence, as we all have testosterone and estrogen, right? Every last one of us on this planet does. And when a man taps into that, it's not a sense of, you know, him weakening or devaluing or emasculating himself. It's a sense of strength. To me, that's how I see it, right? A man that's able to tap into his different sides of himself is someone that I value, right? Someone who's just masculine, rah, 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 you know, arrogant. That's cool, you know, but at some point, you know, when you at home alone, right? Who are you, right? When you take off your work clothes, when you take off this facade, as we all do, right? Who are you? And are you able to be in your true essence and just sit with yourself, right? I feel like that's more of a beautiful thing to see than a man trying to portray himself as being masculine all the time. And like you said, not nothing to the men who are super rah rah rah, or the men who are super sensitive and catering to women, as I feel like everyone has to find their balance, right? We have some women out there that are super masculine and some men out there that are super feminine. And I feel like when those two people connect, they balance each other out, right? So it's all about that balance and finding that balance. But as far as men, I feel like you guys would love to be in that masculine. It's just about having a feminine who is going to understand you without judging you or putting too much pressure, right? As some people like to say, be his peace, right? Y'all really want us to
Mhm.
be y'all peace and uplift y'all, right? Not complain, not nag. Not saying all women do, but you know, I'm speaking from a man's perspective, right? If I was a man, I would want my woman to be compassionate, loving, understanding, just hear me out. Let me vent every once in a while without, you know, pushing me to the side, or, you know, giving me a rub, giving me a back rub without me having to ask all the time, or putting this extra stress on me when you know I'm already trying my hardest, you know? So I feel like, you know, being in that masculine energy is in you guys' nature, but it's okay to have a little balance every once in a while.
You know, it was something you mentioned earlier about who a man is once he gets home and take off his work clothes. I don't know if you heard of Kirk Franklin's show, that he had like these men around and they had
Yeah.
conversations. And I think that was very, very dope on his part to do that, because we as black men, I have to stress the black man part,
Yes.
we suffer in silence. And it was something, I forgot, was he a football player or was he an actor? I forgot, but the the guy asked him, Kirk Franklin asked him, what is happiness to you? And you know, that is a hard question for a lot of us men to answer, because we're so busy being for somebody else. We don't have time for ourselves. So we really don't know what truly make us happy. We could say, oh yeah, having kids, you know, having a wife, having this, having money. But if you strip all that away from us and it's just us, what makes us happy? And I even had to think about it. And I was like, damn, what makes me happy? What brings me happiness? And it took me a while to figure it out, because I really don't know. I'm so busy trying to, you know, work on myself to love myself more, because, you know, eventually I had kids and a wife and things like that. But I want to make sure I am secured in, for sure, in who I am in all aspects of my life, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And it was such a deep question, because, you know, black men have the highest suicide rate. And I don't know if it's the same this year, but it was extremely high last year and the year before. And even when you just look on social media, on the internet, you can tell that these men are suffering in silence, because the new going thing now is sassy. It's sassy for a man to express himself, but get mad at us for expressing ourselves because y'all really don't like what we saying, but it's our truth. And not that I care, because I'm gonna say what I want to say, and whether you like it or not, I don't care about your feelings,
Yeah.
because if you asking me something, I'm gonna tell you. And if it hurts your feelings, well, you allowed your feelings to get hurt. It wasn't directed for you to get your feelings hurt. You ask a question, you got a authentic answer. So, and it's just it's a lot of stuff going on. I just think that, with the time, like you said, the timeline splits and the energy shifting, and it's like a lot of people are trying to tap into their higher self. They're trying to figure out themselves and take a path which is more conducive to them in their life, but it's so much distractions, and it's almost like, I feel like these people that be talking shit on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, I kind of feel like they're agents. I really be feeling like that. I feel like they're paid to troll people, to like reel them in. You know what I'm saying? To like
Yeah.
make them feel like, yeah, no, 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 treat the women like this, no, treat the men like that. I was starting to think that, because I'm like, because I got caught up in that a few years ago, and like that kind of like really ruined my last relationship, because that high value man shit like really threw me for a loop, because I really didn't feel like that based on their standard. And and I'm like, damn, like, is that really what it is out here? That's how you supposed to be? You gotta have six figures, you gotta be this, you gotta be that. I'm like, damn, am I not high value? And then I hear the women saying, yeah, you got to be high valued and this and that. And I'm like, and I'm telling my girl at the time, you don't think I'm high value? You think I'm this and that? So I'm doubting myself. I'm losing the sense of identity. And now the pressure is on. Now there's already pressure just being a black man, but now there's more pressure because you got to have certain things to want to be desired, which is pretty funny. I've been around the world. I've been around the world. I can say that. And people in other places are fascinated by black men. Like really, it's like they never seen us before. And it just makes me think like, I'm are we the most desired people on the planet? But I'm like, even if that's the case, we don't feel it here in America unless it's tangible things that we can offer. You know what I'm saying? And then you go to other places and they just like, oh, he's so tall, he's so strong, he's so handsome, and stuff like that. I won't have his kids. Who cook for you? I pay your bills. Like, it's a lot of shit you just hear from all these other women in other countries. It's like, why I don't get this treatment from the West Hemisphere? But I think everything is an agenda, propaganda, and stuff like that. And but as far as like men, we really need our women, like really really bad. And it really breaks my heart that women are choosing to separate themselves and alienate themselves from black men. And and I understand why, but not in the sense of not providing tangible things, but in the sense of the domestic abuse, the manipulation, the gaslighting. Because even though there are men who are out there who are good people, you got the opposite of that. And it's funny because this is what really initiated me to start this show, because there was a story I read like a year ago about this man who killed his ex-girlfriend because she didn't want to be with him no more. And for the simple fact that, and she had two kids too, so you took somebody's life and you took them away from their children because she didn't want you no more. That was just the outline. I don't know the specifications of what really happened, like why he did that, like what was said, because what goes on behind closed doors, nobody really never knows. We just know the outcome after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know
Yes.
what she might have said to him, what he might have said to her, what agreement they had, what she did, what he did. I don't know. But it's really never an excuse to take someone's life because they don't want you anymore. And ladies out there, like, y'all have to really tread careful about the things y'all say to men, because if we really like you or we really love you, everything that you say to us, we take to heart. Like, there's not nothing that you can say that will make us feel any different if we really like you, love you. So like y'all just got to tread careful about that. That's the only unsolicited advice I get. All the women out there that's listening, like really tread careful about what y'all say to men, especially if you know for a fact that they like you or they love you, because it's
Can't be
it's
manipulating, right?
yeah.
Playing with people's emotions and, being manipulative. That's when people, like you said, it turns into crime and passion. It turns into heat of the moment. People lose their lives. And this is, men and women, people getting set up and it fatal attraction stuff. So we have to all be very careful when it comes to love and expressing and protecting ourselves and being mindful with how we express ourselves, especially this day and age, because that kind of, when we drop down those layers, you never know what somebody's going through. Right. So you
Hmm.
saying one thing could tick off the last hay in a needle stack, right? The last. So you really got to just be mindful and protect your energy and mean what you say. This goes back to being your authentic self and being able to express your authentic self and having someone there who can understand that without, you know, being, how can I say, mastering emotional intelligence, right? And being able to take constructive criticism as women and as men, right? And not being manipulative, right? Because that's what gets a lot of people in trouble when someone knows that, they love you. Okay, I could just say I love them, and now I have them wrapped around my finger, and I can do whatever, say whatever. This is when people, they just abuse, like you said, people be abusive, and it's really, dangerous. That's when things get dangerous, and you got to just really be careful with your words and mean what you say, and be mindful of others and be mindful of your intentions as well. So I hear you, brother. That's serious. And it's been a lot of that going on in the media. I've been seeing a lot of that. So I'm like, yo, a lot of people are at their breaking point, and people have to be very careful with their words and be able to read people and be able to be compassionate for others, because you just never know. You never know.
Yeah. Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Um, how do you deal with the men in your life that want you in I don't want to say sexual way, but in a way of relationship wise?
Wow. Um, I just kind of be myself. I just be myself. I let them know, that I'm still healing. I'm still working on loving myself. And I want to, I don't want to do anything too fast, because I'm trying to break cycles within my past, right? Within my past relationships, because I'm
Hmm.
still learning, growing, and healing, right? So, I mean, as far as talking and dating and that type of thing, I have no problem with it, but I do hold up certain boundaries so that way I'm not falling into certain old loops and old patterns that I've learned my lesson from, right? So let's
Hmm.
say if someone's gaslighting me, oh, I love. Hold up, bro. This is second day. I don't know you. We throwing out love a lot. Right? Hold on. That's a trigger word for me. I done been in love. I done got my heart broke. Hold on, bro. Right? So
Right.
I have to put up certain boundaries within myself so I don't get caught up, because that goes into that manipulation, right? And still be discerning of their intentions as well, because someone could really genuinely enjoy your energy and just say things off of the moment, just we in the moment, we get caught up in the moment. That's understandable, but also being aware of their intentions and my intentions, right? So that way you don't get
Hmm.
caught up in certain things. So I'm super protective, but I do let my guard down with people who I feel are genuine, right? People I don't feel like have a hidden agenda, who have my best interest just like I have their best interest. I mean, it's a little bit of courtship, but I'm very much in tune with the heart and sincerity in your mind. You know what I mean? That's what's going to really You want to get me going, say some intelligent spiritual shit to me. You know what I mean? Let's talk like, these beautiful, deep conversations like this. This is what gets me, involved and stimulates my mind, an intellectual conversation. So it's a lot of different layers, but I know to holding my boundaries, be discerning, and also learning to love myself and be able to trust myself to let those boundaries down when I feel like I could trust that man or there's a sense of protection there. So, yeah.
I understand. Well,
Yes.
so I take it you've been in love before.
Oh, man. Come on.
Yeah, he said, "Oh man, come on."
Come on.
I never been in love.
What, Dre? You've never been in love.
I thought, but as time go on and you like make a have a self assessment, and you be like, "Nah, I couldn't have been in love." Because I personally think that when you love somebody and when you're in love with somebody, it's just certain things you don't do, say, or treat them. And I don't think that I've ever been in love. And when I was looking back at him, like in hindsight, like no, I couldn't have been. I couldn't have
Mm,
loved this person. I think I never loved anybody either, like
mm,
in a romantic, intimate way, because I know what it's like to love someone genuinely because of what I do for them and how I treat them. And I love my friends, and I always feel like I take friend. It's funny because I take friendships very seriously. Like,
yeah.
don't say you my friend, because I take that word. If you my friend, you have to be my friend. Don't be
Yes.
a half-ass friend. Don't be a only friend. That's an only friend. Like, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like. So if you say you're gonna be my friend, because I kind of feel like I need people to have an outlet.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going through something, I don't want to hold in all of the stuff I got going on, because then it'll depress me, and then I'll have different type of thoughts. Like in the past, like I had suicide thoughts before. I was depressed, and it's like I didn't have nobody to talk to. And when I want a friend, I want somebody I could trust, and not have them throw this back up in my face later on. And I think that's the hardest part. And would I ever want to experience loving somebody, being in love? Of course, of course. I think that it would motivate me to continue to be a better man, continue to keep my frequency high, continue to have high spiritual presence. You would see it on my face, the glow. You feel it in my energy. I've been around those people who are like genuinely in love, and it's like I would love to, experience that feeling at some point in my life. And I think women fall in love a little bit easier, in my opinion, because y'all are just emotional like that. Like y'all born to, y'all born to love and nurture and take care and stuff like that. So y'all feelings are always involved, heavy. And and I love that for y'all. I really do. But y'all gotta be careful who y'all do that with.
Yes.
Be careful with them words. Men be
Yes.
slick. We be slick.
Most.
We be slick with them words. I have my time or two doing that. You know. But
Yes.
but hey, I'm learning. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I promise you, I'm getting better. But you know, I think. Oh, and this is another thing about tapping into that masculine energy and that feminine energy. I believe that if you really want to attain that certain level of energy, you have to give up something. And this is speaking from an experience. And I'm gonna give you a prime example. Blueprint for God Power, right? Very, very life changing workshop for me personally. Um, like I said, I was going through something, and I was like broken all the way around, and that really helped me put the pieces back together in my life. And I remember I was reading this book called Breaking the Habit of Yourself by Joe Dispenza. Like that was a helpful book too. And it was talking about how you can, like, epigenetics, right? You
Yes.
can you can create the person that you desire to be. You got to focus on it, write a list of things down that you want to be, or focus on all of the good attributes to yourself, and then just steady on that. So as me doing that, I lost some things. And the most important thing that I lost that I didn't know, that it took a few women to tell me, is that I had no emotional, intimate connection. Like, it was completely gone. Like, I like you being around, but you wouldn't know that I like you or not, because I never really showed that I did or didn't. And I was oblivious to it, because I'm like, I'm just, being neutral. That's how I saw it. So now I look back at it, and I remember I told Rich on his show, because he was asking about the blueprint for God power. And I told him, I said, I attained a lot of new things and better things for myself, but I also lost one of the most important things. And I said that emotional, intimate connection. It's like in void. It's like it's not even there. And I don't feel bad, but it's like, damn, if I ever want to have a successful relationship, I have to get that back. But it's not on my to-do list, or top of my to-do list, because there's so many other things that I feel like I'm lacking in, that I want to, feel. And you know and it was a I talked about this on the last show. I'm part of this black men's mental health group on Facebook, right?
Mhm.
And we were on the Zoom call. Never met none of these men in my life. We just talked through the group, right? It was like 70, like 78,
Wow.
75 of us on there. So these men were having different conversation about the things they experience in their life and with their women, because we're trying to help each other up. And I'm like, yeah, like, y'all just have to learn how to be true to who you are. And sometimes you have to go with the gut instinct of the women or the people in your life. So one of the guys was telling me about a story with him and his soon to be ex-wife. And she told him to his face that you're not doing enough. Now, mind you, this guy is making like 90. Like, he said he's making like 90,000 a year, because he in IT. So they make good money. And they got two kids together. They've been married for 13 years. I think he was like 3 years younger than me, right? And she only works part-time, right? And she just told him, you're not doing enough. I don't love you, and I don't feel the same like I did before. So they went to counseling. She stopped going to counseling. She said, there's nothing that can happen to make me feel the same way I felt about you when we first got married. And like, he stopped going to work. He almost lost his job. He was stressed. He had like heart problems and stuff like that. And I was just thinking to myself, like, you ask for all of this stuff, you have the perfect man, but it's still not enough. And the guy, he broke down crying on the Zoom call again, with 70 something of us men on here that don't even know him, right? And I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, that's deep. Another guy on there said the same thing. He said that um he was in and out of a relationship with this woman for about 15 years, and she just kept on insinuating different things that she saw on social media to him.
Mm.
And like, he really wanted to be with her. It's just that she was the one that didn't want the connection to be solidified, right? So he broke down crying too. And it made me, like, after that, because I've never experienced none of these things. So I'm gonna put that out there. I never experienced none of these things with women, fortunately, and I'm grateful for it.
Yes.
Um, I had made a post on Instagram. We talked about this on Instagram. I'm gonna ask you about it. I said that unpopular opinion, because this is right after the Zoom call. I did this like the day after, because I was just thinking about it. I said, unpopular opinion. I'm starting to believe that women are incapable of loving a man unconditionally unless it's her child and or a family member. What do you think about that statement?
I think that's a very bold statement. Um, and I feel like there's some truth to it, depending on the woman. And I feel like there's some false statements depending on the woman. So yeah, because I think it's kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with the women. You know, some women, they just see men as a tool. They just see men as money. They just use men. They just manipulate men, and that's how some women were raised to value a man. Right? If he can't provide for you, he isn't worth anything. Right? But then there's also a flip side to women as well. You know, some women, they don't care about the money. You know, it's some millionaire women, it's some millionaires that still can't find that genuine love. It's not about the money for them. It's about the connection. It's about that, like you said, that emotional connection. Can we really bond? Can we really connect? Do we have chemistry? So I feel like it's a lot of different layers to that question and to that statement. Do I feel like it's true? Yes and no. From for a lot of women that are caught up in the system, yeah, that is true. A lot of women, they don't know how to love because they don't know how to love themselves. They haven't been taught how to love. They haven't had an example of love, so they don't know what love looks like. Their idea of love is money. They in love with money. They in love with the idea of love, but they don't truly know what that looks like. Versus from a woman who has seen love, know what love is, seen the struggles, the highs and the lows, and know that there's way more to value a man than what he can provide for you, right? And if he's not well, then I'm not well. You know what I mean? If I see him stressing, then I'm down and out. If he can't do it, shit, I'll finish the rest. I'll finish. Let me, like you said, I'll go finish. You let me work the job. Let me put on your work clothes and your hat. Let me go do it so you could be good, right? So I feel like it just depends on the woman's mentality, and it depends on how some people were raised in their trauma, how they were programmed. It's a lot of different things that goes into that statement. But this generation is who we in an era.
Lost.
Yeah, it's
Lost.
social media. It's social media. So all we see is comparison, money, rich, fame. If you know what I mean. If they ain't got this, then that's
They ain't
it.
worth shit. Yep.
Yeah, that's
They ain't
it.
worth shit.
So,
Yeah.
and it messes up the values of ourselves. It messes up with people's self-esteem. It does a lot of comparison. It gives you this illusion of options, right? When back in the day, let's say 1920s, you just had your husband, and that's it. It wasn't no, let me go look at Tom, Dick, and Harry. Let me go out to the no. It wasn't none of that. You just was in love with them, through thick and thin, and that's just how it was. Versus now, oh, why you ain't buying me? What she said, you say you love me, but you ain't put me in Chanel, right? How you say you love me, but you don't put me in Chanel? What? That's your idea of love? Someone putting you in Chanel? Like crazy. So
Sound
I
like
don't
they could be
know.
bought. And that sound like they could definitely be bought.
That's the thing. I forgot who said that. I forgot what girl said that, but she was like, "Your girl got morals and I got millions." And I was like, "Oh no, we cooked. Like we're cooked. Nobody got morals. They don't care about morals. They don't care. All they care about is money. All they care about materialistic things, and that's where." And I get it's a sense of wanting to make sure that you're taken care of and you're provided for, but at the end of the day, hypothetically speaking, if your man was to leave you, and now what you gonna do now? You know what I mean? You ain't gonna be saying that then, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you ain't doing enough for me. Okay, I ain't doing enough. Bye. Like, then what you gonna do? Oh, you gonna be crying because your man done left you now. So
Or
people
they,
gotta pick and choose their battles, I feel like.
yeah, or they gonna be going around hopping from pillow to post from man to man and be
That
used
part.
up and then turn into Vivica A. Fox looking for husband applications.
Bitter.
Like you had opportunities. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, and it's funny because I had a saying like what you asking for is not exactly what you really want. And you might be asking for, yeah, it look good now, but do y'all think about long term? You know what I'm saying? What if this man, what if he go bankrupt? You know, what if the stocks crash and all his money was invested in the stocks? You know, what if he gets sued and have to go to prison for whatever the case may be? You know what I'm saying? And you know, the women are not built like that anymore. And I don't want to say is their fault entirely, because you know, if you want to go back to the 60s and like the 60s when like they were really like, that was the part where black people were like really together. When they start talking taking away all of the factory jobs from the black people, then they introduced the crack. So now the fathers were out of the homes, the mothers were single mothers, they were on aid. It was a lot of, so it was so many things going on. And so now not only are the men traumatized from not being a provider no more, the women are traumatized because they're not being provided for. And it seemed like, well, you know, hopefully eventually, you know, we get it together. It might not be in our lifetime. We might not even be here to see it.
That
we
part.
we might not even be here to see it, but
Yeah.
hopefully there'll be a change soon, because is needed. And you know, it's
Yeah.
something you said earlier about um women who will pick up the slack because they don't want their men stressed out. My parents had a
Yes.
similar situation. Both my parents
Yes.
work. They've been married for 36 years. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Um, my father had lost his job last year. The mama was
Mm,
still working,
mm,
and you know, as long as I know, my father has always been the breadwinner in the house. He's always made sure we had a roof over our head, clothes on our
mm.
back, food in our mouth, and stuff like that. I've seen that, you know.
Salute to the real men out there doing it.
Right.
Okay.
Because my father was a bona fide definition of what a man is. And can't nobody on this planet tell me nothing different.
Yes.
And so he lost his job and stuff like that. So my mom said, it's okay. She said, I'm still working. She
Yes.
said, she said that, you know, you took care of us. Now let me take care of you.
Yes.
So my mama
Yes.
worked. She picked up most of the slack. But you know, my parents were smart with money. They always had savings. So for situations like
Yes.
that, and you know, my father was out of work for about 4 months. So like the first month, he just, you know, sat back, relaxed, you know, did stuff around the house. Because my father, he's not lazy. He's gonna find something to
Yes.
do. Even if it burns us
Yes.
down, he's gonna find something to do. Even if he breaks something, he gonna find something to do. So then,
Yes.
you know, he was telling my that him and my mom had a conversation. He was feeling like he's starting to feel less than, because
Mm,
he feel like he wasn't in his position anymore. He didn't
mm,
he didn't like the
mm,
idea that his wife was carrying the load. And
mm,
my father, he's a prideful man. He shows his pride through his actions, not with what he say.
mm,
And you know, I
mm.
respect it, because growing up with your mom and not knowing who your dad is, or you know who he is, but he ain't been around. And it's
Yeah.
like you in your mind, you like, you don't want my kids to go through that, so I won't do that. And
Yes.
it's like, that is what true partnership is
Yes.
that it's not even about a 50-50 thing, 100%,
Mm,
100%. It's none of that. It's
mm.
about, when shit hit the fan, can you help me until we're back on where we're at? Because everything
Yes.
is not going to be up. There's going to
Yes.
definitely be down. There's polarity in everything that's going on. There's up,
Yes.
there's down, there's left, there's right, there's money, there's poor, things like that. And
Yes.
I think that that's where a lot of us are lacking, like in general. I'm not saying like me and you, but a lot of us are lacking
Yeah.
in general, is that we don't value the person that we're with. We're just valuing what they can do for us.
Yes.
And when you take these vows, they say through, for richer or poor,
Yes.
for better, well, for better or worse, or for sick and health, something like that.
Yeah.
The normal vows.
Sickness
And I
and health
think that,
till death do us part.
right, right. And I think that, and I always ask this question, And I just think that this is like a very important question that I ask on all my dates. And I'm gonna ask you
Yeah.
this:
Yeah.
if divorce wasn't an option, would you still get married? Now,
Um,
think about this question. Think about this question because you got to remember there could be fidelity, there could be domestic abuse, there could be mental abuse, there could be a lot of different things. But once you marry, you can never get divorced under any circumstances. Would you still get married?
yes. Now let me defend my, because I see that as a form of children. Children is a forever bonded soul contract that, regardless of a paper, regardless if you're together, that is still something that you are connected with this person through eons, through lifetimes, right? So
Mhm.
even though you may not be with the current person, that's still something that y'all have, as y'all created together. So regardless if I'm with the father of my child, if you're with, if they're in the life, that's still something that's consecrated with y'all, right? So the whole idea of being married to someone but without being divorced, I mean, yeah, and because in my mind, marriage is just a sense of a paper, right? It's just a sense of a contract that we sign. It should be something that's spiritually, that's embedded in our souls. If we gonna say we do it, then we gonna do it. A paper shouldn't define what we're doing. Words shouldn't define what we're doing. Actions should define what we're doing and how we're going about our union, our companionship, how we love one another, how we support one another. So I would most definitely, because I'm all for love. Okay, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Mhm.
I got it bad. Okay, I'm still gonna be trying. I don't care if I got my heart broke, because I'm just that, I'm a love child. I love love. I love to see love. I love that energetic exchange between two people, when you see the light in their eyes because they love each other, when you see these elder couples just together, like you said, the parents being together for 50, that is priceless. Yeah, they went through their highs, their lows, their up and downs, but nothing can replace that bond that they have, right? So I'm all for it, you know what I mean? I'm not, it's you gave me an ultimatum. I can't get a divorce. I'm not for abuse. I'm not for infidelity. I'm not for none of that. I don't like it. But since you gave me, it ain't no divorce yet. Go ahead and sign me up for love for life. Okay, I'm down for love for life.
Okay. 'Cause I just really think that's important because I think that that would really let you know someone's intentions for real. Cause it's
Yes,
like I hear people talk about marriage, but okay, what if there was no option for divorce? Would you still get married then? And
yes,
they'd be like, yeah, still would. But I'd be like, hold on now. Now
yes.
hold on. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's contingencies to that.
Yes,
What if he's a habitual cheater? He's a
yes,
chronic habitual cheater.
yeah.
He's
Crazy,
a liar.
crazy.
What if he's a thief? Will he steal all your money? He say
Oh,
your
come
money's
on,
my
come
money.
on, Dre. What kind of trickery is this?
I was just saying though, it's like that's why it's always important to understand yourself and then understand the person who you with. But you got to
Yes,
make sure that the person understand themselves too.
yes,
Because being with somebody who don't know who they are, what is a setup for a failure.
yes,
And I think and I think that's another reason why our sacred love between one another is being separated because we don't know who we are individually, and
yes,
we're always looking for the joy and happiness in somebody else because we can't give it to ourselves. And
yes,
Will Smith said it the best. He said that I can't make you happy. You have to come in this relationship already happy, and then
yes,
we bring our happiness together.
yes.
Like you have to go somewhere. I mean, that might have been a bad example, but
No,
I
that's a
I
good
get what he was
example.
saying because I
No,
think
that's
well,
a good
he
example. Because when
but
it's
what he
conditional
said about his
love and
wife though,
happiness,
that's the part. I mean, and what he said about his wife, that's why I
yes,
was like what he was saying was right, but his
yes,
situation didn't match what he was saying. But
yes. He
because he
had good
told her
intentions.
right, he had good intentions, but he told his wife to go find happiness and then come back happy. And I think that's that's not what that's I. Well, you know what I'm
That's
trying to
not.
say.
Yes, yes.
But
Not
you
go
gotta
out and little bullshit.
You right now,
You
like
gotta
they will
already
do
come to
some.
me whole and full and knowing who you are, and I come to you whole and full and knowing who I am when we come together and create this
Right.
beautiful unit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to get at. But you know what I'm saying.
Yes. Yes.
But I think that's very true. I think that if you can't be happy within yourself, you'll never be able to be happy with anybody else. And
Facts.
even in the book of Mastery of Love, it talked about loving yourself. It says
Yes.
that and it talked about the story of Hercules,
Mm.
and he was always, oh, what no, not Hercules, but I forgot the name of the person that he was all Hercules was always hunting, but the hunted was always looking for Hercules to hunt them because that's what brought it happiness. So when Hercules stopped
Mm.
hunting and
Hades
stuff,
was
it didn't,
Hades.
I think it was Hades.
Mm-hmm.
And once Hercules stopped doing it, Hades had stopped finding a reason to be around because it solely depended on him hunting because that's what Hades loved the most was being hunted.
Mm.
And the metaphor for that is that you can't depend on nobody's happiness to bring you that fulfillment you're looking for. You have to already have it. And once you
Yeah.
already have it, no one can take it from you. Like if I give you
Yeah.
something, I could take it from you. But if you
Yes.
already have it, I can't take something from you that I didn't give you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
you got dignity. You can't take my dignity something from me because it's inside.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it was just like one of those things, and I think everybody need to read that book, Mastery Love, and the Four Agreements. Like that was another
Mm.
book
Yes.
that is a pioneer and a stepping stone for you to truly identify who you are individually. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? And I think that that separation between the men and women is really starting within themselves. But like you said
Yes.
before, everybody caught up in the system.
Yes.
And we not caught up in the system, so we read through the bullshit already. We'll let you
Yes.
talk your shit. We like, oh, for real, straight up. I ain't gonna hear from this motherfucker again.
That part. That part. Because you
So
don't love
yeah,
yourself. That's the main foundation of everything. You have to love yourself. You have to do the work. You got to deep dive and get into that shadow and find out why you're looking for love outside of yourself. Why don't you pour that love inside so that way you don't have to look, right? So when you do find someone, you're able to connect and you're not lusting, you're not looking, you already got what you're looking for because it's you, right? You already found yourself. So I feel like once you make yourself a priority, you prioritize your health mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, financially, on all these ways, everything that you're looking for, it will be instilled within you. And then you'll start to attract whatever it is that you're looking for, whether that be a partner, whether that be an opportunity, whether that be soul tribe, whether that be, whatever it is that you're looking for, you have to make sure that is instilled in you, right? Some people like to say, oh, I got this list, right? Well, do you have everything on this list that you're looking for outside of yourself? Because if not, then you're just going to be setting yourself up for karma, for a cycle, for a loop, because you're trying to still fulfill something that you lack internally. So that's one of I agree full 100% that it has to be something that you fulfill within yourself first, and that's with anything, because somebody could sweep right up under you. Somebody could take that from you, and if you love yourself, can't nobody take the love that you have from yourself. So it's a beautiful thing.
so this is why I like talking to you. Conversations be so good. You just had me thinking. So with that loving yourself part, w- I hear I'm gonna give you like a quick story. So
It's
this
all
girl
good.
I was dating last year, end of last year, beginning to this year.
Hmm.
When people talk about self love and they're working on their self love because of things that they've been through, that what attracts me to you. That makes me want to be around you more because I'm in that same situation. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And a person, you really never know if a person is really healing because I
Yeah.
don't think none of us are 100% healed because
Mm-mm.
we're always going to be hit with different obstacles that's going to challenge our healing process. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And we're going to find new traumatic things that will occur in us, and now we gotta figure out how to deal with that new experience and how we can still stay on the path, right?
Yes.
So she would talk about a lot of self care and self love, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can get with that, you know. And so her version of self love was a little bit different, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
not judging her self love. It's just that when I think of self love, I don't think of self love and pampering yourself, like taking myself to the spa
Yes.
or reading. I look at self love as like shadow work, you know,
Yes.
finding out what things that I can improve in and what areas. And unfortunately, because she got with somebody, how can I say this without sounding arrogant? She got with somebody who was highly intelligent with the self-love part because of the things that I've learned and the things I experienced. So I was definitely teaching her stuff. And she said herself, like, I never been with someone who knew a lot more than me when it comes to this journey of self-love and self-care, right? So long story short, she didn't have it. Okay. She didn't have it. And she, she kind of went a little loco. But what is your definition of self care, self love? How do you view that?
I like you said, it's shadow work, right? It's spending time with myself. It is that nurturing myself. It is that loving myself. It is spending time in solitude. It is valuing myself. It is giving myself grace. It is letting my mind run wild and observing those thoughts, not judging those thoughts. It's not, giving myself grace. It's running out and playing and tapping into my inner child and letting that be free. It's tapping into my sensuality without judging myself. It's allowing myself to just be and not not be controlling of that, not put myself in a box, not constraining myself. It's so many different layers to self-love. I feel like it's no limit, but also not getting caught up in this idealistic way of just pampering myself, spending on myself, because self-love isn't just buying yourself things. It isn't just materialistic things. That's part of it. Yeah, you want to, treat yourself, but also make sure whatever you put in on the outside that you're putting back in the inside, right? So it is that positive words of affirmation. It is being real with myself, right? If I'm not feeling well, not faking it till I make it. No, I'm not feeling good today. Maybe I need to cry and get it all out, and then I feel better. All right, y'all. I cried all day. I can't cry no more. I'm feeling good, right? Okay, yeah, I feel good, right? Acknowledging myself and being real with myself. That's how I tap into my authentic self. That's how I show myself self love. And there's so many other different ways, right? It's a sense of being creative. It's a sense of drawing. It's a sense of playing. It's a sense of, going out to the beach and just laying there and just enjoying the waves, enjoying the vibes, listening to some good music. It's 1,000 ways to just show yourself self-love. It's writing in that journal, right? Writing in your diary, writing out dreams and goals that I have for myself. How do I see myself in the future? How much have I grown, right? This is how I alchemize my ego, right? I tap into different
Mhm.
ways and feed that ego in an alchemy way instead of feeding it with just materialistic things like I am the shit. Like, no, like what can I do to grow, and how and why am I the shit? Because I made it through so much things that were sent here to stop me, that were sent here to destroy me, that were sent here as an obstacle. I get triggered and I'm more healed to where I'm not flashing, right? Ooh, I love myself so much because I put in the work to know that I'm being triggered. I put in the work to know that I'm aware of where I'm at today. And it's due to me loving myself. It's due to me wanting to get to know who I am. It's due to me facing that shadow, facing my light, facing my inner child, facing my higher self on all these different levels. That is self love to me. And it's so much more, but that's like my foundation of self love.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that stuff, every part of it. So I just think that that self care, self love has to start with the spiritual aspect first, aligning with that spirit, and then you'll focus on the mental, which would be, reading the book, sitting in solitude, you know, meditating, most definitely, talking to your ancestors or God or whoever y'all believe in, you know, and then you go from the emotional part, knowing or learning how to regulate your emotions, how to not be triggered, you know what I'm saying? And when you know something's about to happen, how do you handle it and how you deal with it? And then the physical part, yoga, working out, um, a lot of different things that, keep your body active and stuff like that. Because there's been many studies showing that the more active you are, the healthier and happier you be, because moving around and staying active increases the mood, and your neurons are always flaring and stuff, and you're constantly creating more and more neurons, and it's constantly giving you more energy, even with reading and everything else. So I just kind of feel like it's very important to know how and why you're going through your self-love and self-care, and being responsible, being a responsible person when it comes to the things that you are, doing and saying, and I think the most important thing too, we talked a lot about individuality and, knowing who you are, but I think
Yes.
the most important thing is self-awareness.
Yes.
I can't stress that enough to people. Like, you have to be aware of the things that you think, the things
Yes.
that you say, and the things that you feel, because if you always on autopilot, it will come to a thing to where, like, you didn't know what you was doing, and it's not an easy thing, trust me, because sometimes, we get caught up in certain stuff, but
Yes.
as long as you know,
Yes.
and then you're still working on your self-awareness, that's the most important thing. So
Yes.
I just think that was something important.
I
So
agree.
we're about to get out of here in a minute. I'm gonna ask this like two more questions, and then I'm gonna let you go.
So good.
um my next question is, how can we as melanated beings, you know, get back to that sacred love that we are desperately missing out on?
Mm. Well, I say the first thing is like we said, self love, right? Knowing who you are. Um, and I feel like once you do get in that, because it's levels to love, right? So I feel
Hmm.
like once you get that base level down with yourself, you love yourself, you know who you are, you're in tune with your higher self, tune whatever, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs that you have, then you can start to attract, that partner, attract what it is you want. You get into this attraction mode, right? You start to see what it is that you truly want and value things that you truly want. And you can encounter a partner, right? Whether this is business, whether this is partnership, or whether this is a relationship. And when you are in that relationship, I feel like there's certain things that hold that foundation of that love, that sacred love that we are trying to restore and we're getting back in remembrance with. And that is, first thing is communication. I feel like there has to be an open line of honest and genuine and authentic communication, because if we can express ourselves genuinely and authentically, then for me that's a deal breaker, right? I can't even express myself without you getting upset. You can express yourself without me getting upset or getting judgmental or whatever that may be. So communication is the first thing. Number two is it has to be a sense of compromise, right? And I seen this, like you said, with your parents, my parents. They're still married, they're still together 37 years. And one thing that I seen, like you said, with the ups and downs, with the highs and lows, was the compromise. Everything wasn't always glitz and glamour and perfect, but it was time where I seen them compromise without the ego, right? I'm willing to, I love you, baby. Let me rub your feet. Oh, I love you, husband. What you want to eat? It's that compromise. And yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm going throughout my day and it's been hard. But when I see you, all of that just, it leaves, and I'm willing to compromise my own, whatever it is to be of service, to be, because I love you, right?
Hmm.
So, and then it's also that compassion, right? So it's communication, um, compromise, and compassion. If I can't be compassionate, and that goes back to that root of love for me, it has to be a sense of compassion. If I am having a good day, if I'm not having a good day, if I'm just, really entangled with you spiritually, physically, emotionally, then it has to be the sense of compassion, this deeper level of understanding and wanting to bond with you beyond just the physical. And it's because that, I really do care for you. And like you said, I'm aware, like you said, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of myself. I'm aware of you. I'm aware you had a long day. You're aware that I'm going through my emotions and maybe my time for my cycle. So you want to give me some space or give me some chocolate, right? But you got to be aware of these things. We have to be able to compromise, because it ain't always going to be rainbows and sunshine. Yeah, we love the rainbows and sunshine. But like you said, when it all falls down, when we strip away all of these things, I got to know that you're there for me. And that's how we build that foundation on that love. And we're able to trust one another. So I feel like the trust, the communication, compassion, and compromise. Those are, big, main foundational things for me when it comes to building that circle union between people in a relationship.
Ooh, the big three C's. You got,
Yes.
you got big three C's. I got the
Yes.
big three R's when it
Okay.
comes. Yeah, I got the respectable, responsible, and righteous men that you need in the community. Yeah. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Well, that's
Yes.
that's that's something I talked about in some of my earlier episodes. But the last thing I want to bring up, because I was just thinking about it, because I think this is important. You know, like the first probably like 10, 11 episodes were focusing on the psychology, right?
Yes.
Because I'm big on psychology. Like I got so many books on, I read so many books about it, and I research psychology. And there was one term that stood out the most that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, and it's called learned helplessness.
Mm.
Now, learned helplessness ties into the whole um situation of, individuality, seeing what everybody else is doing and not focusing on yourself. So,
Mm.
learned helplessness is a term to where you feel less than because you're too busy worrying about what everybody else is doing, and you want to almost like compete or compare yourself to what everybody else is doing, so it puts you in a state of stress and a powerlessness. And I
Mm.
think that that is a term that a lot of us need to go and educate ourselves on, because even though we can talk spiritual, and spiritual is great, I think it is like it's definitely the first step to healing in any aspect. And then once you get to the spiritual part, then you have to educate yourself on your mind. And I think you have to know these things, like how your brain works, how the four lobes brain work, what's triggering you, what's going on with this gland, that gland, and that learned helplessness stuck out the most because I did a whole episode on that, and I was breaking it down because it was like in society, that's exactly what we're all going through at some point. And I think that we need to understand that once we understand that, we can move past that and grasp our own power. As long as we like focus on ourselves, I think we'll be okay. And I think that that
Yes.
can also connect men and women together, if they got to understand that they might have a little mental problem. And I'm not saying mental problem like you cuckoo. No, like you might have a mental problem where so much trauma has messed up your frontal lobe, or so much trauma has messed up your parietal lobe. You know what I'm saying? And you have to go in that mind, and you have to go with the spirit. You have to like fix that. Like your mind is very important. And then I think that's what people don't understand, is that it's not just a spiritual war going on, it's a mental war going on. Because if they get a hold of your mind, they have a hold of you.
Yes.
And it's like the same thing with women. Like if a man really wants to get a woman, he has to get her mind, and not like in a bad way. I mean, they can use it in a bad way, but however you use it, the mind is more important. Like you said earlier, you like to be mentally stimulated, be spiritually
Yes.
stimulated. You want to be
Yes.
able to learn things and stuff, And so your brain can grow, and you can create new neurons and neural links and stuff in your mind, and it broadens and expands. And I think that's important. So, last question: what advice would you give to the people, men and women, who are having problems trying to connect with the opposite sex? How can they break that cycle and connect with the opposite sex after
Mm,
connecting with themselves, of course?
mm. For me, I feel like that always it stems back to your inner child, right? So you have to tune into things that, you know, look at these different patterns when you were a child that will help you break through certain things, that cycles, loops, circles that you're continuing now in order to connect with the opposite sex, right? So if you have a problem connecting with the opposite sex, you really want to deep dive as to why. Or why do I feel like, as a woman, I always feel like there has to be a sexual connection with a man? Or why do I always feel like a man has to provide for me? Or why do I always feel like I can't, take someone serious, right? And versus, a man, why do I always feel like I always look at women sexually? Or why do I always feel like, just these different layers? You have to really deep dive into your past relationships, right? Whether it's with your father, your mother, or the lack thereof, and really getting in tune with where am I seeking this external validation, and how can I get in tune with myself to make sure I'm providing these things for myself. So when I do find someone that I connect with or I can connect with, I'm being my authentic self, and we can connect on an authentic vibration and not me trying to appease their needs, right? Trying to be a people pleaser or trying to accommodate what they like just so I can get something or manipulate them, right? It's really just about being your authentic self and vibrating in that energy, and you will attract those who resonate with your frequency. You will attract people who think like you, and even if they don't, not being judgmental of that, because we're all walking on our path. We all are walking in our truth. And when we break past these barriers, we're able to connect on a different level, on a higher level, on a universal level. And I feel like that's a big thing. When we're able to just be our authentic selves, you attract people on that frequency, right? And regardless of their, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, when you start to look at the common, things that you guys have in common, it's like, okay, well, I like the color blue too. Okay, well, I like going to the beach too. And you can start to find these similarities and start connecting on that and start building on that. And it's really because you're staying true to your authentic self, that you're able to find people who resonate on that frequency with you. And also, doing a little self evaluation, right? If you have trouble connecting, just really deep diving on that. And when you get in these environments, find out about other people and find out what it is about yourself. Because I feel like with the social media thing, it gives some people social anxiety. I used to be introvert, right? I didn't like to be around people. I was very shy, very timid. But once I started to deep dive within myself and break past these barriers within myself, I'm not afraid to let my light shine. Now, I'm not saying I come out, hey, what it is, pay attention, all eyes on me. But I feel like energy speaks for itself, and you can feel when someone's being their authentic self. You can feel when someone's overextending themselves, or you can just kind of feel the energy, and you can kind of get a feel for that energy because you're in tune with yourself. So the more that you're able to vibrate in that authenticity because you love yourself and you've done that work, you're able to get in environments with people who have done the work themselves and they vibrate on that same frequency. And then it's just a flow. It doesn't have to be forced. And if you're trying to force something, you kind of need to take a step back and realize, why isn't these things working, or what is it that I need to work on? And not from a judgmental way, but maybe it's some things that this person may need to work on as well. Maybe I need to just put myself in a different environment so I can continue to do the work that is necessary. So I feel like certain things like that, they will fall in place in divine timing, especially when we create the atmosphere within ourselves to grow. We create this loving atmosphere. It's kind of like planting a seed. right? If you plant a seed in the concrete, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to grow. But with the right environment, with the right love, the right nourishment, the right attention, the right light, okay, that flower, that seed will start to sprout and bloom and bear fruit. And it could be unlimited and endless possibilities. So I always like to say, go with the flow. Don't force anything. If you're having a little bit of trouble, maybe do a little bit more work to find out why you're having these problems, and then when you start to vibrate in that authentic frequency, you'll start to attract people on that frequency, and it won't seem like it's so forced. It'll be more easier. So that's kind of like my advice.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I want to take this time and opportunity and say thank you so much for joining me tonight. You know, when I hit you up and asked you about it, you was the first person I thought of, and I said, I want female guests on here. Your schedule, we had to wait like a little while, but I said I'm still get her on here. And
Yes.
I'm just I'm grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful that our spirits align. I'm grateful that we're creating a friendship and a bond like family.
Yes.
I'm grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful for the energy exchange. I'm grateful for this moment in time, and I really appreciate you. You're someone who I consider a friend, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really happy for you, seeing everything manifest and play out for you in your life, all of the people you were talking to, and being a part of something special. And I'm genuinely happy for you. I really am. And it's funny, we talked about this too. We literally had a conversation about this. And much more success to you. Continuous success with everything that you do, with your products, the people you're talking to, your YouTube channel, you know. Um, yeah, so and what was I about to say? All of New Diamond's link is in the description. So I put her website on there, her Instagram, Facebook. I don't think I got her TikTok, but I got all of the most important things on there.
Thank
So
you.
y'all go
Thank
ahead and subscribe to her channel too. It's New Diamonds, right?
Yes.
Yep. So go ahead and subscribe to her channel. Make sure y'all share this video, like this video, subscribe to it most definitely. And I will be back on Wednesday with another guest. This is women's time now. I got a lot of women that's gonna be on the show. I need that different feel. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
I need a little bit of estrogen in the energy. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like it's a lot of testosterone. I need to balance it out a little bit. So
Yes.
I'll be back Wednesday. We'll have a nice, great conversation about energy protection
Beautiful.
and energy projection.
Yes.
So once again, I just want to say thank you for joining me this evening, taking time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation with me. I greatly appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon.
And I appreciate you so much too, brother. This is a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me on your platform. And I see all the great work that you're doing as well. Like you said, it's amazing. We had this conversation about a year ago, and we're watching everything manifest. So as long as we stay consistent, as long as we keep putting those good vibes out there, and people seeing our light, and putting in that action, is nothing that we can't do. It's unlimited possibilities for us. So I just really want to say thank you for being who you are and being a light for men and women, to show them it's okay to step outside of yourself, to shine, and to step back into yourself, to go within, doing that work and letting that vulnerability be seen as a sense of power. So I salute you, brother. And thank you so much for sharing energy with me as well. And we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to blossom. We're going to continue to flourish like we've been doing. It's only up from here on out. Okay. You're going to see us. We're going to be on big screen next. Okay. It's up
I
from
know that's right.
here.
Hey, speak that.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
man,
Words are powerful.
hey, I'm gonna definitely get you back on here again real soon
Pleasure.
too, because it's so much more things that I want to discuss with you that I think people need to know. But this is
Yes.
just the start. This is only part one, so there'll be many
Yes.
more parts. So
Yes.
once again, I want to say thank you for joining me. I hope you have a good night, good week, good month.
You too.
Stay loved, stay blessed, stay stress free. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
all right, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Peace.
All right, y'all. So I will be back on Wednesday, at 8 o'clock. I have a guest. I don't think y'all may or may not know her, but we're gonna have a conversation. This about energy protection and energy projection. So it's gonna be a real good conversation. So make sure y'all please share this video, subscribe to it, and like it. And comment too. I do read the comments. So all right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. Y'all have a good night. Peace.